Hey guys, and welcome to this video. Gareth here. So as designers, when we undertake projects, we want to do the best job we can. And to do that, we need to achieve the right results. To achieve those results, we need to understand exactly what the design task requires. When we undertake any design, we really want to avoid making arbitrary decisions. A lot of inexperienced designers may want to jump right into the fun part of the design process, the act of designing or creating. However, understanding the project's requirements could possibly be the most important step in your design process. If you fail to give this adequate attention, you could completely miss your project's goals. The best design work is always work that fulfills its purpose or function and delivers on the requirements of the project. In doing so, your aims will be to communicate a key message or concept boldly and strong, communicate a key message or concept in a unique, visually exciting and engaging way, have a good rationale behind it, and if it looks great too, that's a bonus. In a previous video, I stated that graphic design is not about making things look pretty. Graphic design is the organization and presentation of information, developed through a creative process for a particular function. Before we begin the design process for any project, we should always seek to understand what that particular function is. To do this, we should start by seeking as much information about the project as possible. Now, this information is typically provided to us in the form of a graphic design brief. So over the next couple of episodes, I'm going to talk about the graphic design brief. Later, I will be showcasing some graphic design brief examples and offering up a free graphic design brief template and some resources for you to download and use should you need them. In this video, I'm going to talk about what the design brief is and why it's important. So what is the graphic design brief? Well, the graphic design brief is much like any other creative brief. It's an overview of the project, what is required, and the design problems that need to be solved. Here is an example of a typical design brief. Now, not every brief will be the same. Terminology and structure will vary, but it should all cover the same criteria. A typical brief should include all the relevant information a designer will need in order to understand the context, the requirements, and the needs of the project. If you wish to take a closer look at this, you can find a downloadable link in the description. So why is the brief so important? Well, the design brief is really key to the development of a project. The more thorough the initial design brief, the more potential there will be to solve the design problems required by the project. One of the most frustrating things that can happen to any designer is having to create work without being given an adequate design brief. This can delay the process. It can misguide a designer. A client might not like or be happy with the end result, which leads to lots of amends having to be made in future. So lots of time wasted, a nightmare for most designers. Having a well-outlined and detailed brief will help a designer stay on point, will be the source of reference for the duration of the project, and can be used to contest solutions later should there be any disputes. A successful project starts with a well-thought-out design brief. Now, there are two types of briefs. A design brief will typically either be an open brief or a closed brief. Basically, open and closed briefs vary in the degree of creative freedom you have. The open brief will typically offer more creative freedom, whereas the closed brief will offer less. Now, I won't go into this in too much detail here. A lot can be said about this, which we will be going into in a next episode. So that is an introduction to the design brief. As a designer, before we take on any design project, we will always want to start with the design brief. With a design brief in hand, we can begin the design process. Now, a quick question you may be wondering, what if I'm not given a design brief? Well, it is not always the case that a brief will be presented to you. Depending on who you're working for or with, you may be given a well-detailed brief, you may be given some verbal instructions, or you may be given no brief at all. Typically, when I work with design agencies or professional clients, a good, thorough brief is provided. But some clients don't understand the design process, the need for a design brief, or how to create a brief. Some clients will also feel they don't have the time to create one. Some clients may feel that a meeting will be more beneficial, where ideas and the project can be discussed verbally in a more informal and collaborative scenario. Whatever the case may be, you will want to establish a solid design brief before starting a design project. If one is issued to you, then great, but if not, there are steps which you can take in order to create one, which I will be discussing in a future episode. In the next video, I'm going to discuss what makes a good design brief, and take a closer look at the example we looked at earlier. So see you in the next video.